call of the Hawks can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
So the Arkansas Razorbacks are a Final Four team. I've seen enough. Book your tickets for Indianapolis now, everybody. Just kidding, sort of. But man, oh man, did it feel really, really good to get back in the gym and watch the Hoop Hogs get after it this afternoon. What's up, folks? Welcome in to the Pod at the Palace, a live edition as we just react to everything that we saw in about a little over an hour worth of summer basketball practice with the Razorbacks, John Calipari and the new squad. And then, wow, about an hour's worth of press conference material as well. So we're going to tell you what we saw. We're going to tell you what our takeaways were, but we're also going to answer your questions. So make sure you get them into the chat. I'm Curtis Wilkerson. He's John Neighbors. And we're a couple happy campers after what we saw today. What's up, John?
Yeah, man, it was great just being in there. I didn't know what to expect. We kind of talked about Inside Arkansas Live today of what we wanted to see and everything, but I didn't know the length of it. I didn't know like what type of practice it would be, the press conferences, who we'd get to talk to as far as players, if any players. And I was overwhelmingly and pleasantly surprised. I mean, the practice was great. You get to see a lot of different things. You got to hear a long press conference from Cal, and they had 4 players up there speaking with the media. And on top of all of that, the players came around to the media after the practice, gave us all fist bumps saying, thank you for being here. I was like, what happened? What is going on here? But that was about as cool and about as awesome of a thing that you can have when it comes to the dog days of summer in July dealing with college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Cal for letting us do that. That was a really cool gesture, by the way, just having every player come in and dap us up and say they appreciate us for being there. I thought that was awesome. Wasn't expecting that. And then how about Cal a little bit later in his press conference, just throwing out the teaser there and saying, why talk about it when you guys come out and see it? You know what? Maybe we'll have you back in September and watch another one and see the progress that we made. I like the way that sounds, Cal. I love the way that sounds, my man. It's like we said on the show Inside Arkansas Live earlier. He might not do it as quickly as we want him to. It might not happen the way we think it's going to, but John Calipari always delivers, and then he over delivers. It's a beautiful thing. And you're right. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect when we went in there. John just knew that we would get to hang out for like an hour and watch him practice. I know that they're limited in these summer workouts because you only have 8 hours a week because of the NCAA, and only half of those can be actually on the floor. And so most of the time, and I know this is especially the case with Muss, and I remember the guys last year saying this is what they did last summer. A lot of, hey, let's break up the guys on every basket, or we'll send the guards to one end and the bigs on another, and we'll just do some drills and some footwork and some skill development. They really got after it, man. They did some drills, they did some breakdown stuff, but a lot of that it had live elements to it. And then they were getting up and down 4-on-4 for the last half hour or so of what we sat there and watched. So I feel like we probably learned more and have some better takeaways than I initially expected going into it, where I thought they were just going to be shooting uncontested jumpers all day.
Yeah. And I know we're going to get into like individual players and, what stood out and everything like that. But that was something that, like, I mean, I know you've been covering Razorback athletics, but specifically basketball for years. And, Muss would have some events, and even Mike Anderson would too. But this was just one of those deals to where it seemed so impromptu, like just, nothing, just absolute radio silence. And then boom. Oh, yeah. Well, here's a clip. Oh, also we're having a press conference. Oh, you get to watch practice. Oh, it's going to be just regurgitated this insane amount of interest and content and things. And I'm happy for you because, like, we were talking after thing, I was like, man, you got Pod at the Palace content covered through fall camp if you wanted it after all that stuff, man. It was just great to see where there wasn't this shying away. It wasn't like, hey, we don't want to show anything or not let anybody know if someone's injured, or it was just, hey, we're having this practice. I think that they said you could film the first 10, 15 minutes. I think they let us film for 30, it felt like.
It's like they forgot to tell us to stop.
Yeah, which I'm like, I'm going to keep filming this no matter what. So that was great. It just felt very accessible, very open, and kind of like not, hey, we're trying to get this done and then rush out of here so we can leave. It felt like there was a really good, nice break in the summertime to give you all of this until the season starts back up.
Yeah, it was so funny. I can't remember who asked the question, but somebody asked Cal, like, dude, why are we here today? Like, why did you pick today for us to do this? Where did this come from? And he very much just said, well, I'm getting ready to go recruit, for the next week. And this is what I really love to do. And I guess they asked the SIDs, the communication department over there, do you think media would like to come watch us? And they said, yes, very much so. So shout out to them. We give them a hard time, but hey, thanks for for delivering the message. And here we are. So it was cool. Just some big picture, overall team and vibe and everything takeaways before we dive into some specific players and everything like that. What I was really struck about the most, two things. One, Cal, he just seems way more comfortable, relaxed. You can tell that I don't think we noticed it in real time, maybe last year, John, because everything was happening so quickly, but he had a lot on his plate and it felt like maybe they were a little bit behind. He wasn't able to do all the things that he wanted to do. He's on schedule now, man. And he looked really, really just relaxed, comfortable in his own skin, feeling comfortable in that Razorback shirt that he was wearing, which he loved to see. And then the team, and Cal talked about this, went on and on and on about it during the presser, about how he feels like they've just got a bunch of good guys. And so he really wants to work on, get them in better shape because they have healthy bodies, but also just kind of bringing them together and getting that camaraderie going. I really liked what I saw from that standpoint on the floor, but then also in the press conference. I'm sure we'll talk about the banter between Nick Pringle and Trevin Brazile. That was electric, but it's summertime, and you always got to wait and see what happens when the ball tips and the season gets underway. But I just really like the vibes out there today.
No, I did too. I love the fact that, press conferences are press conferences. It's a matter of, do coaches say anything? Do they give you coach speak, whatever? But I have always felt like, in something I learned back in my days of college, one of the things I've always learned when it comes to coaches' press conferences or players' press conferences, not if they do it in an angry way, but if they drop an expletive in a very casual, chill, talking ball type of way, then you know that they're extremely comfortable in that setting because they're not overthinking it. They're not making sure they choose their words wisely. And Cal dropped one of those. We're going to have the press conference uploaded here soon with Cal. But when he did that, I was like, okay, yeah, he's feeling good. He's feeling good. He's feeling a lot more comfortable. He knows people. I think that's something else he said. When I got here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in the building. I didn't know anything. I was just being told what to do and told where to go and told who to talk to. And now he's feeling like, hey, it's his program. He's settled in. He's got his feet down. He knows his players. He likes his players. He loves his team. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of that too. But you could just tell that everything about what we saw today was about comfort. It was about not being weird or awkward or this tension where the team doesn't know each other, or if there's an injury, they're like, oh, we can't give this out too much. It was a comfort level. And that made, I think, the media a little bit more comfortable. It made the team more comfortable. Cal more, everybody was just comfortable. And to have that long period of time where 2 hours essentially of practice and press conferences of comfort, that's a pretty impressive feat, all things considered.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And something else that stood out to me, and this was the first time that we've been invited out to a practice since Cal got hired. We were able to see, 15 minutes at the beginning of the practices before the NCAA tournament games, but their actual practices were always held away from the venues, and they would just come in there for little shoot arounds or whatever. It wasn't an actual practice. What I was kind of surprised by, like, I remember when Muss, obviously different coaches, different philosophies, whatever, but when he was there and we would get invited to practice, it was constant chaos. And it was, but they were very structured and meticulous about what they were doing, but there was never a dull moment and everybody was involved. Like all the GAs, all the assistant coaches, they'd have, like, if guys weren't in on a particular drill, they were off to another basket doing certain things, whatever. But I was surprised at how much Cal was coaching in this, you know what I mean? Like, if it's summertime or whatever, like, whatever, man, it's casual. I've got my assistants running some drills and things like that. It was him. It was his voice that was the loud one in there. He was stopping guys in the middle of reps, correcting them, coaching them up, talking to them about footwork and everything. And it was really the assistants that had the easiest job today. They were just chilling. I would see, Kenny Payne. I saw Brew at times when guys would finish a rep, they go over there and talk to him, give him some teaching points. But the only other loud voice I heard in there was when they were doing the lateral slides or whatever, like the defensive slides, and Chin Coleman headed that up, and he was yelling at him. I bet he loves doing that. But Cal was he was front and center out there. And sometimes when you have those larger than life figures and the personalities like Cal, they just kind of they operate as CEOs. We have a CEO head coach in another sport, but Cal was he was all over it, man.
Yeah, he was somebody to where, again, not knowing what you thought or not knowing what you thought you were going to see in the practice, seeing him and hearing his voice of all the coaches that talked, which everybody talked, like you said, but I would say 85% of what you heard from coaches, maybe even 90, was Cal. Every single clip that we posted up on Inside Arkansas of the highlights and practices, people may think, oh, you just took video of Cal talking. It was like, no, he was literally the only one that was talking. He was the only one that was really getting out there. And it wasn't like he was intense. He was just talking to him and saying, hey, I think one of the plays when it was Malik Thomas, he was like, hey, that's a high school stance right there. And he's like, here's what you do in this. And so basic stuff at times, but the coaching came from him. You had the hype machine. You had some guys that were saying, hey, do this or look over here. But that was definitely Cal's team. That's Cal's program. Cal has full control, and Cal made sure that he was out there getting his hands dirty with all of it. He wasn't just there rolling his little rope with his whistle. He was actually getting out there and making sure that everybody knew and everybody saw that, hey, this is his team, and he's going to make sure that you're ready to go come season start.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So let's talk about some players here. And if you guys haven't already checked out the highlight video, we've got it posted on our Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, 15 minutes of highlights. John may or may not pull it up here while we talk about some of these guys. And if you haven't watched along, you can. I think that we're probably in agreement on who the biggest standout, like who popped the most out there today. But I'm going to ask you the question, who was the most impressive Razorback that you saw out there at practice today?
Man, it's tough because it's a matter of what you expected, like what did you expect certain people to stand up? But man, TB, I guess TB7, sure. We got to call him TB7 now because he's number 7. Trevin Brazil. I know that the way that the year ended this past season, he was playing some of his best basketball. And so you wondered, okay, well, how's that going to carry over? What's he going to be doing? How is he going to be looking? Is he going to have a different role? Whatever. Man, new haircut, but same Brazil that we saw from the end of the season in the NCAA tournament. Hitting shots, hitting threes, defensive. He looked about as good as you would hope to see Trevin Brazil look after the end. And I know other guys stood out, but to me, I was just really happy for him and really excited to see Trevin Brazil playing his best.
Yeah, that's the best I've seen him look, man. It was really, really impressive. Not only that he picked up where he left off, but he's made improvements since the Sweet 16, the NCAA tournament. Talk about guys who are comfortable. I think Trevin really, really fits the mold there. He is not overthinking anything. He is not lacking for confidence. In fact, if there was a player voice that I heard the most out of anybody, he would have been in the top 2 or 3 in terms of guys who are being vocal out there. But you mentioned the shot. It's not just that he was knocking down threes, because Trevin, he's good for that. He can do it. But we used to scream at that man the last couple of years, shoot it. Like, what are you waiting on? What are you thinking? And he would catch and shoot. There was no hesitation. That shows you that he's got a lot of confidence. He was pulling it up and knocking it down in people's faces there too. A few things on Trevin. One, our whole bit the entire summer about, it's just crazy that they have him as weighing more than Nick Pringle. And I know that they've updated the roster and they have them both at 6'10", 230 now. I'm not saying that they are the same size, but I'm telling you right now, it's way, way closer than I gave him credit for. One, because Nick Pringle's in great shape. Like he's lean, strong. He's a little bit thicker in the shoulders and the biceps and the chest than Trevin is. Trevin has gotten bigger, folks. Like he said himself, he feels like he's added 5 to 10 pounds. I believe that, and he's carrying it well. He also looks super comfortable bouncing it, taking it off the dribble. Like he was going, I saw him drive right by Malik Ewan one time for a finish. And then when they were going 4-on-4, guys, it was Trevin Brazil versus Carter Knox, like the entire time. And Trevin was taking Carter off the bounce and getting to the rim on him. And then not only was he holding his own defensively, he was extending his defense and guarding Carter Knox like 30 feet from the basket. Just things that Trevin Brazil has never done. He looked really, really good out there and still, taking flight and, put back dunks and everything like that. But he just seems like it's like Cal said, he's an entirely different person.
Yeah. I mean, he looks locked in. He looks like a guy that's healthy, for one. We know he's battled with injury, and it seems like there's been circumstances where he's had the highest of highs. I remember when he first got to Arkansas and how he started in that year with Muss and all those freshmen and just the dunks and everything. Then he had that bad injury. And then the next year he comes back a little bit healthier, but then the team is a disaster. And then they had those issues. And then this next year, he comes back and is with Cal. He dealt with a little bit of injury, but then, they had other guys in roles and he wasn't getting the playing time. I don't know if it was him that's saying, I'm pouting, or if it was
as he splashes a three.
Yeah. There's just, you could tell he wasn't comfortable. Like he just wasn't, I need to keep using that word, but he wasn't comfortable. He used, I think we called him 2 for 3 Brazil, because that was his stat line every single game was go 2 for 3. And then once you started seeing other guys get banged up, and with a guy like Duthero getting banged up, he just stepped up. And I think it was Cal. He may have said it in the Vice documentary, or maybe he said in a press conference, but he was like, you're as good as you want to be. Like, it's up to you how good you want to be. You just got to go do it. And he was doing it. And you can tell he's doing it in practice. And I think we talked about Inside Arkansas Live today too. But if Trevin Brazil, if you get peak, good, elite Trevin Brazil this season, man, that dude's going to be a draft pick far and away, first rounder. And Arkansas is going to have a fantastic season, because when you get good Trevin Brazil, and especially if you get him consistently, there's not many teams and many players that'll be able to stop his ability offensively and defensively and the different things he can do.
Yeah, and the way John Calipari was talking about him made it sound like he's definitely been the standout throughout the course of the summer, because what he said, the way TB is handling himself, the way he's looked this summer, if you have 2 guys like that, then this thing is for real.
Yep.
I think that's his exact quote, actually. And he says, we have one of them in Trevin, just a guy doing the things that he does. Now we have to find out who the other one is. So that's like Trevin is setting the standard for these guys out here on this team. And I mean, hell, we all knew that with the way they built the roster and everything, they were kind of handing the keys to the 4 spot to Trevin. And, they'll figure out how they cover the rest of the minutes there. It's one thing to just say, okay, this guy played really well for us at the end of the year. We're going to, put our trust in him. He's going to have a, most likely a starting position, whatever. But to have that belief in him and then say the things that you say, that tells me that this is for real. So I'm really happy for Trevin. You mentioned, some of the things that he's gone through. We've talked to him a lot about that. It just hasn't been an easy road for him. There hasn't been a single year of Trevin's career that has gone according to plan, or has gone the way that he hoped that it would. I really hope that this is the one, and he's definitely off to a good start, man. It's really good to see.
Yeah. And I know that, you're always about, you want the best team to play, the best players to play. You don't care about anything else. But, Brazil, it's just crazy. He's a 4-year player here at Arkansas alone, and he's been around a long time. And, you got some big men that's come in, and they're different from the big men that you had last year. So I like players that get into this role and take control. And it just seems like Brazil has found it, and he is as good as he wants to be, and he's taken control and he's elevated it. He's been the only player that changed his hairstyle every 4 years, but that's fine, because I don't care what his hair looks like. If he's putting the ball in the hole, and if he's going out there playing great defense, man, do what you need to do, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Is this going to be a make from Sealy? It was. Look at that. Isaiah Sealy.
Yeah.
How about that? We'll get to you in a second, big fella. He looked really good today, I thought. So since we talked about TB, I want to just go rapid fire through the returners real quick, because you guys have all seen them, right? You watched all the games and everything. So just a few notes on where guys have improved, some things that Cal talked about that they're working on, whatever. And then we'll talk about the newcomers, because I know that's what folks are excited about. I told you before we started here, had a bunch of notes on all these guys, like a lot. And then I looked up before we started the show and I went, oh, I didn't write a single thing about DJ Wagner. It's not a bad thing. DJ Wagner he's just Mr. Reliable, he's Mr. Consistency. And he just kind of did his thing. He's getting downhill, finishing a little bit, missed some jumpers early on. And here's what sucked about it is he did knock down a few late after we could stop filming. There's another guy that the moment they told us to stop filming is when they started getting up and down, and he was really killing it. But DJ, to me, just he seems another guy who's pretty comfortable with his surroundings and everything. But I don't know that I noticed any like super notable change in his game. Looks like he might have a little bit more burst right now, but hell, John, when we were watching him last season NCAA tournament, he was playing 36 minutes a game. He was probably a little bit worn out.
Yeah, like that was one thing I don't think gets talked about maybe enough, is how many minutes he was playing. And that was with Boogie Fland, who was also somebody who was playing 30 plus minutes a game. I think Wagner and Fland led the SEC in average minutes per game pretty much the entire season. So I think that was a factor of it. But I think it's important what you said about Wagner is that he didn't stand out in any way as far as writing notes. And it is a great thing because that's the type of player he is. Like, yeah, you want him to go out and be better and develop. And Cal even mentioned how impressive he is and how much better he's gotten. But it's like, you know what you're getting with Wagner. He's the big consistent. You know, you want the consistency. He was to me, the most consistent player from game one to game whatever Arkansas had last year. It's not to say that he didn't have his moments where he played poorly or he didn't have the moments where he played great, but it was about the consistency. And so having that guy at that guard position who's played for Cal now going into his third year, I don't need to see him going out there and dunking the ball from the baseline. I don't need to see him going and shooting nothing but threes 8 straight times and hitting all of them. Yeah, that'd be great. But all I just need to see him doing is doing what he did last year and continuing to improve on that part of it last year. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him being the guy that maybe doesn't get all the flash and pizzazz, but as long as he's consistent like it was a year ago, then Arkansas is going to be just fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Carter Knox, you know, it's interesting to me because he looks like he's definitely trimmed down a little bit. Like, I think he's kind of just lost that baby fat. When he came in last year, I remember at the tip-off tour, and Cal was talking about a guy who lost like 10% body fat or whatever when he got there, and it was Carter, and he still had some to get rid of. He's really done that. He looks like an adult now. I mean, he's leaned up, but even though he's probably lost a little bit of weight, he looks really strong, and he played really strong. He didn't get a whole bunch of touches today in the 4-on-4 stuff, I noticed. But what I will say about Carter is he was just doing the thing where it's almost bull in a china shop sometimes, but he can just absorb contact like nobody I've ever seen and finish. Like, if you got whistled for every foul that you receive in a single shot attempt, he would go to the line and shoot 8 free throws sometimes. Like, he was just getting hammered by guys and finishing in transition. He looked good. I thought he shot it well. You know, he was a guy who got here a little bit later because he was going through the whole draft process and everything. And then it was funny that Cal said, you know, when he was talking to Carter throughout the process, he was saying, like, I'm good. I'm in shape. I've been doing all these workouts, whatever. And then he got to campus and he was out of shape. He was behind on conditioning. Cal said he called him out on it in front of the team, and he's caught up since.
Yeah, that was something that, you know, Cal is a genius at, you know, pretty much everything when it comes to the game of basketball, but he knows players. He knows how to motivate them. He knows how to push them. He knows how to push the right buttons. And, you know, some people may hear that and think it's mean-spirited or whatever, but Cal's like, he probably knows. I know Carter Knox. I know that he in his mind probably thought that he was truly in shape and he's good to go. And it's a checking of him, because let's be honest, Carter Knox has been hyped a ton by us, because it was rightfully so in the NCAA tournament. The way he played in that game, had 20 points, going to the NBA draft and checking it out. You know, he was going there and he was hearing from these people like, man, your game's so good. And you hears about how much Razorback fans want him back because they think he's so great. You hear about it a lot. And so maybe you get into yourself a little bit. Maybe you're like, no, man, I'm good. I went to that combine. I was killing it and I looked good, or I did this, that, and the other. And I think it was Cal's reality check of like, oh, you're coming back, and no, you're not even close to what you need to be, buddy. Like, you need to come down a peg or two and you need to get back after it. And it sounds like he did. So that's just, it goes back to coaching. That's great coaching. And that's also another way to make sure that everybody's understanding what the assignment is and how important it is to do the small things, especially when it comes to your conditioning in the summer.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I'll point out about Carter that I noticed, and it was just because Trevin looks so good out there that I wound up watching him a lot. You know, him and TB were matched up quite a bit. And I think TB very clearly won that battle today, honestly, on both ends of the floor. And that might be more of a testament to TB than anything else. But as we think about, you know, the rotation and how things might shake out, what the minutes at the 4 might look like beyond Trevin, they might look at Carter to take some of those. And I thought from a strength and physicality standpoint, he held up just fine, but he was bothered by the length of Trevin on both ends of the floor there. Just an observation. You know, it's not like he was getting cooked relentlessly, but Trevin kind of took it to him there. So it was just something that I noticed, and I'll leave it at that. There's not going to be a lot of SEC teams that have a 4-man that's, 6'11" and can do the things that Trevin does. So there's also that part of it, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, I don't know how much shame there is if the length of Trevin Brazil is bothering you, like find out a whole lot of shame and having that happen, because that's what makes him so good. And that's why he's going to be bothersome for so many teams, especially in the SEC, is because of that length, defensively, offensively. And I mean, if he can get that consistent 3-point shot, shoot, man, there's not going to be anything stopping that kid.
Yeah, no doubt. I was pretty impressed with Billy. I thought he looked good today. Now, guys, I'm telling you, if you expect to get just like this fully efficient new version of Billy Richmond that doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to be disappointed. Like he's still going to turn it over. And even Trevin mentioned that in the press conference, but still made a few ill-advised passes in there. Whatever. He's gotten better in a lot of ways. He looks a lot stronger out there. I thought a little bit more comfortable. That handle seems to be a little bit tighter than it was maybe last season. I thought he shot it well. In some of the individual drills, he was, unguarded, knocking down corner threes. Okay, that's fine. But he did knock down one in live play. And then he had a nasty little kind of drove it baseline and then had a turnaround jumper and knocked that down. So, again, it's like John Calipari at one point stopped practice, and we probably already played the clip and we only had the volume on, but he said, hey, if you're making that shot, nobody can guard you. Like if you can make that shot, nobody can guard you. You just knocked down a wing three, and he's absolutely right. And there he goes. This might be the shot right here. Pull up. How about that? That's good timing right there, John.
Yeah,
that's
perfect.
A tough jumper, man. And he's right. If he can at least be to the point where he has to be respected as a shooting threat and teams can't sag off of him against the drive, then, he is going to be really tough because he gets downhill so easily. I thought he looked really good. I think he looks like a guy who maybe has put on a little bit of muscle. He looks equally explosive. I think he's going to be in line for a good year.
Yeah, people are probably like, why is he wearing 45? I'm just going to assume because he's a big Kevin Kopps fan. We'll just leave it at that.
It's really random.
Yeah, it was random. So it was weird seeing him in that way. But, he's one of those players to where last year you saw moments of awesomeness. And then you saw moments of like, what is this guy doing? I know that he always got a bunch of Devo Davis comparisons and his approach and his mentality. But I think that this year, I know that you want to see him improve and everything, but I think it's going to be about, for me at least, those moments. Is he going to still have that wide spectrum of crazy awesomeness and then crazy awfulness? Or is it going to kind of come back down a little bit to where it's going to be more consistent? It's not going to be having these stretches of bad decisions with the basketball, bad passes, bad shot selection. Is he going to be more grounded in his decision making? Because we know how good he is athletically. Being left-handed is always a huge plus and benefit. But where will he be mentally? Where will he be with his decision making? That to me is what I want to see, how that's developed and if he's gotten a lot better at those aspects of the game.
Yeah, me too. And it's interesting. You mentioned consistency being the key with Billy. It absolutely is. Cal mentioned consistency being the key for Carter Knox, and it absolutely is. And it's just things you see with freshmen, and then you expect them to take that step forward in their sophomore year. Consistency is the key for another guy that Cal mentioned, who's in his first year, and for me was probably either 1 or 1A in the standout of the newcomers, and that's Malik Thomas. Went into the day expecting that to be Darius Acuff, and we'll talk about him in a minute. Malik Thomas really popped to me the back half of practice early on. And I think this is what you're going to see. And it kind of goes into what Cal was talking about with the things that they're working on with him in the half court stuff that they were doing. He was a little bit up and down, but as soon as they started going full court and running 4-on-4, and he was just playing with a little bit more space, with a little bit more pace, he started cooking folks. And when that dude gets the ball in his hands, he's going to do some things that make you want to rip your hair out, like some decisions, some passes, some shots where you're going to be like, bro, what are you doing? He is electric, though. And it really showed at times there, just when his off the bounce game is crazy. And he is 6'5", and he is long, and he's not as skinny as I thought he was. He needs to add a little bit of weight and some strength, but he's got a pretty decent frame on him, I thought.
Well, I know Cal talked about how this team has bucket getters a lot more that needs to go out and get it. But he, to me, just in the one practice we saw, which we already dubbed him going to the Final Four, and get your tickets ready for, was it Indianapolis this year, I think, right, is where it's going. But you can tell why he's a McDonald's All-American and why people are so high on him and why Cal loves him and why, as you said, there's going to be moments this season to where that guy wins you games alone. There's going to be times where and I'm not talking about just a game-winning shot and creating his own shot. I'm talking about, like you mentioned, taking over a game where nobody's hitting shots, somebody's in foul trouble, maybe somebody's been banged up, and you just need someone to step up. And then all of a sudden you look up and you see Malik Thomas has scored 18 of the last 22 points. Like, he has that type of mentality and a killer assassin's approach to the game, to where, like you said, you're going to see times where he looks like a true freshman making mistakes. But if he gets in his zone, it might be one of those things that Cal's just like, go do you, man. Go do what you need to do, because he's electric, and he's going to be really fun to watch this season.
Malik Thomas is putting 30 on somebody this year. I guarantee you. He might do it more than once. I hit that dude. He is a microwave type of scorer, tough shot taker, tough shot maker. His 3-point jumper, it's the strangest thing I've ever seen. He catches it high, releases it high. It's really quick. It looks unorthodox. Sometimes it's almost like he's leaning into it. It's just his thing. And when he gets into a rhythm, he can really knock it down. He is a guy who is a better shooter off the dribble than he is off the catch. And he's a better scorer off the dribble than he is off the catch. And that's something they're really, really working with him on right now. And Cal talked about it. There was one time he made just a crazy off the dribble play where he was kind of in an ISO situation against Carter Knox. And I feel like we're picking on Carter. We're really not. Carter was really good today. But just a tough play, got into the lane, turnaround, spin, jumper over the top of Carter. And it might've been one of the highlight plays of the day. And we were all looking at each other like, sheesh, this is crazy. Well, then Cal stopped practice and he says, hey, if you're going to take that shot, you better make it. You took 12 dribbles to get there. And so they're trying to really get Malik Thomas to be a lot more efficient with his dribbles. What you do in 12, let's have you do that in 3. And you have to, you really like to bounce it to create your jumper. Well, if you're playing off the ball, instead of having it in your hands, why not just run off screens and find ways to get yourself open to where you can knock it down off the catch and knock down these shots that are uncontested. So that's going to be the growing process for him, just like it is any freshman in his situation where they've been ball dominant their whole career. But my goodness, man, there were several times where he would make a play, make a shot, and we'd just be like, whew, he looked good.
Yeah. And what I love about it is I love seeing reactions to, like, in the faces of players whenever something like that happens. Because let's be honest, Malik Thomas, it's not that he's a stranger to being watched. He's been watched his whole life. But when he made those plays, and, we're over there like, woo, he hears it and he knows that the media is there and he knows that people are around. It wasn't this thing of like, I did that thing. It was almost like, yeah, that's what I do. It was such a very direct, I'm not surprised that I made that shot. I'm not surprised that I made that play. Not in an arrogant way, but just in a confident way, because it may be wowing to us, but to him, it's just another Thursday or Wednesday for him. It's just another day he's making plays. So I love that mentality from a freshman where he's not coming in, I got to prove myself and I got to show up these upperclassmen that aren't as good as me. It was, I'm just doing what I do and I'm going to help out the team where I can. And I'm confident in my abilities. And if I need to go make shots, I'll go make shots.
Yeah, that man is a bucket. And hey, it was 1 hour of practice, so a very, very small sample size. I didn't notice anything that concerned me defensively with him. Thought he was fine. He was defending Carter, and he was defending Darius Acuff. He was defending DJ Wagner. So like he had some tough assignments, and they looked pretty good there. They had to yell at him a couple times to apply more ball pressure. They were doing that to everybody out there. Thought he did a pretty good job of keeping his man in front. He had to get corrected on a couple things, just footwork wise. Like when they were working on, hey, we're allowing no middle drives, and it was just a positioning thing. That's when Cal stopped the practice, like you mentioned earlier. It was like, hey, that's a high school closeout, man. So it's going to be little things like that technique wise, but as far as holding up defensively, I think he's going to be okay there. He is bigger than he was advertised as a recruit. They upped his size. I don't know if you saw or not on the roster, but they got him up to 6'5", 185, John. And I tend to believe that. I mean, he's taller than me, so he's got to be pushing that 6'5" range. And I do think there's room for him to add some more. It doesn't have to be a bunch of bulk, but just strength in his upper body. But he's got a strong lower half. He's got some big calves. He's calves like a football player, or a soccer player. And that's always what you like to see. So I was really impressed with him. Darius Acuff, a little bit more of a quiet day, honestly, from Acuff. He tweaked something. I don't know if he went knee to knee. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but was a little bit impacted by that. And I think Cal even mentioned it at one point. He was like, yeah, he got a little bang there early, and then he was missing some shots he normally made. the further they got into practice, the better I thought he looked, offensively at least.
Yeah, I did too. I don't want to say you're going to play doctor, but I believe I was on that side and I was filming some of the practice. And I don't know if it was the exact moment of when he messed it up a little bit, but it was certainly pretty fresh on it. And he was even talking over to Chin Coleman and just like, well, I won't say what he said, but basically like, I messed up my knee, man. And I was sitting there, I was like, oh crap. Like, what does that mean? Like messed up. Are you telling him because you need medical attention? You know, you're telling him because you need the trainers over there, but he hobbled a little bit, but he kept going through it. So that made me happy to know that, hey, it's not bad enough to where he's having any issue, but it looked like it was maybe just one of those landing on it a little bit awkwardly, you know, just a little stinger is what it gave me the vibe of. But yeah, I'm with you too, as far as with him, maybe not got the full encompassing ability to see what he's all about because of that little nagging deal. But going to your point too about not seeing anything defensively or any issues, that's what I also really love about the team is I look at all these players and like goods and bads and what they could work on, what they could do. But it's like every single thing that I have maybe been concerned about or that it could be concerned about is all very fixable. And it's not a weakness to where it's like, oh, this guy has to do this if this team's going to be successful. It's more of like, you just have a great amount of great talent that, hey, if somebody has a here, somebody else steps up. I really like that type of core group where, you know, I felt like last year there was maybe times you had to have somebody step up, a certain player. This one, man, we could see out of the 30 some odd, 40 some odd games Arkansas plays, it could be something to where half of them are different leading scorers in a game. Like, it's just crazy how that could happen.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, with Acuff, his shot wasn't falling much at all early, like in the early portions of practice. So I was kind of like, dang, come on, bro. You know, let's get it going a little bit here. He did settle in. And I think what stood out to me from a positive standpoint with him was he just has a really good feel for the game with the ball in his hands. I thought he was really good reading ball screens in the stuff that they were doing. There was one time that the defense was in drop coverage. And so he was just driving at that big man. The big man kept backpedaling. So he pulled up and knocked down a mid-range jumper uncontested. Okay, great. And there was one time off the ball screen, the guard tried to go underneath it, basically saying, I'm going to take the easy way out because I know you can't shoot. Well, then he stopped, pulled up, knocked down the three. Little reads like that. But then he was also really good at turning the corner. And I don't know how many times the staff was yelling, paint touch, paint touch. Everything today was about get 2 feet in the paint and then make a play. And he could get 2 feet in the paint whenever he wanted to. And he would have like the over the head skip pass to a guy in the corner who was wide open that I didn't even see over there. So he's seeing the floor well. I didn't know how good of a passer he was, but it seems like he's going to be really, really effective there. And he was definitely throwing some lobs. He had a sick lob to Malik Ewan when they were going 4-on-4 in transition. It was awesome because it was right after Cal stopped. Malik Ewan, we'll talk about him in a second, but he was like, hey, I need you to run faster. Like, don't jog, don't anticipate anything. If you turn and sprint, we're going to get that ball to you. And then the next play, he did it and he got rewarded with a lob and dunked it. And Cal's kind of doing like the told you, bro. So it was good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, you talked about hearing that. I felt like if I had a nickel for every time I heard to the SEC logo during the practice, because for those you don't know, the court, as right there in the lane is an SEC logo, and it was not about going to the paint. It's like the SEC logo, the SEC logo, the SEC logo. But you could tell what they were putting emphasis on for particular players and what they're really hammering to them about their approach and what they're doing. So. Yeah, there was a lot of, we talked about consistency, but there was a lot of consistency from the messaging from Cal and from the coaches of during certain drills, but really over the whole practice of this is being emphasized. This is what you guys got to work on as a team. And so we're just going to keep saying it and keep emphasizing it until it's beaten into your head.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Isaiah Sealy looks like a guy that belongs out there to me. I was pretty impressed with Zay. And after the practice, Cal said he's got some traits about him that you can't teach. And that tells me that they're pretty high on what he's got going on there. And the one thing that Cal said about him is he doesn't start playing until the ball's in his hands. And so you think about that, and he's been the man at Springdale, and he's a 6'7" kid who was kind of running point and everything. The ball was always in his hands, and now he's got to learn how to be more of a role player. And so cutting, moving without the ball, setting screens, coming off of screens, everything like that, freshman stuff, it's fine. I thought he looked like he belonged out there. He to me, he's a rotation player. Like I have no doubt in my mind about that now. And I'm glad because I've been hyping him up for the last several weeks as the guy who, might surprise people based on what we've been hearing. He surprised me. He had a really good baseline drive against Billy, where he just kind of went right by him and finished. And that's not easy to do because Billy Richmond's a good defender. Did knock down a 3 at one point, but I thought he looked the most comfortable catching and driving it on guys. And for a freshman who was not a 5-star McDonald's All-American, playing with those guys and playing with a bunch of older, veteran, more physical dudes, he was kind of fearless out there, honestly.
Yeah, he was. And I was looking at him as far as like, okay, well, maybe he's just having a good practice, or maybe he just had a good run. Maybe he understood a drill, but he was pretty consistent out there. And one of the things that it reminded me of, not the specific of how he played, but maybe what my expectation was, is, I've been just thinking about so much of Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff. Like, those are the freshmen, McDonald's All-Americans. Those are the ones that have my attention. Those are the ones I'm interested in. Those are the ones I keep hearing about. Those are the ones that everyone's talking about. And, Isaiah Sealy was a 4-star player. It wasn't like he was a walk-on scrub. Like, he was a 4-star player. And it kind of makes me wonder if there's some consistency there of how he plays. One, he's probably walking in with not a whole lot of pressure on him. Just, hey, I was the third fiddle in this whole thing when it comes to the signing class. No one's really expecting me. I'm sure coaches expect greatness out of him, but the fans, the media, whoever, they're not expecting him to have to come in and contribute right away and be a guy who goes for 15 and 8. Maybe that makes it just a little bit more comfortable, and him being around here. And he could be one of those guys. I remember watching, I guess when it was the year with Moses Moody and KK Robinson, Devo Davis, and Jalen Williams. The one that I really didn't do or really care as much about or whatever was a Jalen Williams, because you think about the KK Robinson, Moses, they were all the ones everyone was talking about. But then Jalen comes in, you're like, man, this guy's pretty good. I should have maybe paid more attention to him. That's what Isaiah Sealy gives off the vibe in just one practice. But you could see that there's a reason why he was a 4-star. There's a reason why Cal wanted him, and there's a reason why he's playing Razorback basketball right now. It's because he is a good player. He didn't look like a true freshman that didn't know what he was doing. He looked like a guy that was pretty, you keep using the word, comfortable, and just going out there and playing his game.
Yeah, he's going to play for him. And that excites me. That makes you deeper than maybe you thought you were going to be. And he's every bit of that 6'7", and he looked really good. So the first impression was a good one in terms of Isaiah Sealy for sure. And it was a good one for me with Malik Ewan, the transfer big man from Florida State. That dude is going to be a problem, for people. Malik Ewan is going to be a matchup nightmare for teams in the SEC. DJ Wagner said he's like a 6'10" wing. And there's some truth to that, man. I mean, he's every bit of that 6'10", 240 that he's listed at. He's very, very skilled on the offensive end of the floor. Couple things that jumped out to me. One, he's a guy who catches the rebound and he doesn't turn and outlet it to a guard. No, he just dribbles it. Like he'll dribble it up the floor and initiate the offense, and he's good for it. Like, he's very comfortable bouncing it. And he'll do it in the half court too. He'll take some dudes off the dribble. That, and then we've all seen or I don't know if you've seen it or not. A lot of us have seen the video of him, at some little pro-am Rudy Poo gym or whatever, making a bunch of threes. Greenlight Malik Ewan. The dude can shoot. He can knock it down, catch and shoot wise. I'm not saying he's going to go hit 50 threes for Arkansas this year. But if you think about like what Jalen Williams gave you his sophomore season, where he might be good to knock down one a game, just enough to where teams have to respect you out there and guard you, man. I think that's definitely something Malik Ewan could provide. I probably saw him knock down 4 or 5 threes. And this was in, drills and everything, not just random, spot up shooting stuff. That's a big development because he's got a deep bag, around the rim. He's a guy who can get a lot of offensive rebounds. He was doing that today. Can score it in a multitude of ways, dunks everything. He's the most casually athletic dude I've ever seen. It doesn't look like he's trying to really jump with any kind of aggressiveness, and all of a sudden it's like a reverse jam or something. But I was really impressed with Malik Ewan, the versatile offensive player today.
I was too. I have been wondering of how these big men that are coming in are going to look. And we've seen them in the SEC play. We've seen them play at a high level in college basketball. But, are they just going to be those? And I'm not saying I expected this, but is they going to be like that Oscar Tshiebwe, just stay down there and that's all you do is just stay down there? Or are you going to have that versatility to you? It looks like that he will. And I saw his shot looked again like he had been doing it forever. And he was a guy that I was waiting to see if Cal or one of the coaches was like, hey man, don't shoot that, pass it again, something like that. And it wasn't the case. So it shows that they have confidence in him taking 3-point shots and being pretty consistent. So those are the things that just makes me feel so much more excitement of knowing that you have really good players, but players that can do various things and really spread the court out. That's if you're just a weapon that way. You mentioned Jalen Williams. Maybe if he could be like the Bobby Portis too in his second year, where he could just go out and hit some threes every so often. The threat of it, I think, will be the most important thing. Not just hitting them. Yeah, you want him to hit him, but other teams knowing that he's a threat to hit them is going to change how they approach it defensively and how they go up against him and guard him.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that Cal said about Ewan was that they're trying to get him to play at just a little bit of a faster pace. He said, but when he catches the ball in transition or otherwise, sometimes he'll decelerate and just kind of slow things down. And they really want him to accelerate and catch that thing on the move a little bit better. And that's exactly what he did right after. It was a teachable moment for Cal, and he did it, and he wound up getting a lob. So that was cool to see. I love Nick Pringle, man. I really do. He's about what I thought he was going to be, just very extremely physical and tough, Nick Pringle. And he looks the part, and this is not a dude who looks like Tarzan and plays like Jane. No, he plays like Tarzan too. He was just knocking bodies around the paint the entire practice there. Loves his lobs. He'll basket cut. He'll get offensive rebounds and putbacks. He's a dirty work kind of guy. Offensively, he's good in pick and rolls. I was really impressed with him defensively. He was like switching and able to stay in front of guards. I think he's a better pick and roll defender than anything Arkansas had last year. So he's really going to help from that standpoint. They're pushing him to get more comfortable. They said, like, looking to score and hunting his baskets. Like, hey, take the shot. If you miss it, just go rebound it. You're good for it. Drive the basketball. If you miss it, tip it back in. That's okay. So they're trying to challenge him to be a little bit more aggressive offensively, but I think he's going to be perfect in his role. And low key seems like he's going to be a great, great addition to that locker room in terms of leadership, the vibes, just kind of bringing the team together. Might have a little bit of class clown in him, but some really good moments. He impressed me more at the press conference than he did on the court, honestly.
Yeah, I loved hearing from him and some of the banter that he had with the players and the team and everything. You mentioned the physicality. I know that there's been times they've had Razorback basketball has had some players that were good and could be physical, but it felt like the physical players more often than not were guards that they had, or something like a Duthero last year. Those are the more physical. I don't know how Razorback fans are going to react seeing a physical big man down low because it's been so long. Not to say that that's bad and these other players that played were bad, but you think about Muss and the bigs that he had. None of them were just known for their physicality. Mike Anderson, for sure not. I mean, you had guys that could be down low, the Gaffords and Bobby Portis, but they weren't known for the physicality. Even before that, maybe you're going back to the days of Darian Towns and Stephen Hill. I don't know. But the point is, I'm curious to see how that's going to look of having somebody with that physicality that, as you said, looks the part, is the part, and has the part nailed, and what that can do for your game. Because Razorback, again, basketball has not seen somebody like that. How is that going to change the approach? How is that going to change and make the team better? How is that going to change how teams guard him, how he guards teams, if they go driving the basketball as much because they know that Nick Pringle's down low? Like, there's just so many elements that could really open it up, and him being physical. So I can't wait to see that physicality in real time, and hopefully stays healthy because he's going to get hit a lot. But if he stays healthy and he's physical, man, that could really, really open up everything else about this team.
Yeah, no, it definitely could. And it's just crazy to me how, I mean, we've seen him in the SEC for 4 years or whatever, and we've always known him as just a tough SOB. And so he was not really what I expected in the press conference. He was very well-spoken, very smart dude, good head on his shoulders, great personality. It was awesome. And he had a really funny moment where, I mean, it was all those guys at the podium. It was Trevin, DJ, Malik Thomas, and then Pringle on the far right end. And he was talking about like his decision to come to Arkansas and everything like that. And he was like, oh, it was fun playing against those guys last year. And he just kind of turned, just looked off to the side at DJ and Trevin, just gave him a little nod and a wink. Well, this was the same Nick Pringle that went for 18 points and 9 rebounds when South Carolina beat the brakes off of Arkansas. And so it was funny that he was kind of giving him a little bit of crap there. And then later, somebody asked Trevin Brazile, like, hey, so what's you've played against Pringle before, like, what's the scout on him? And he's like, well, before I answer that, I just want to point out that we did send him home last year. And they all got a good laugh out of that. Of course, Arkansas eliminated South Carolina in the SEC tournament, but I like that kind of stuff. You didn't see as much of that with Muss's last team, and you didn't see as much of that last year because we didn't get to talk to the guys like that. So automatically, I feel more connected to this group than I did until later in the year last year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It feels like a team. I know it's cliche, but it feels like a team that's been playing together for longer than just a few months. It feels like a team that you return everybody, and you're returning the bench players, you're returning the whole group, and having that where, out there on the court, even during practices, kept wondering if there was going to be any, not like fights breaking out, but, some jawing, okay, I'm going up against you. Is there going to be those issues? There was a lot of camaraderie. There was a lot of, high fives after plays. There was a lot of, with young guys and the old guys. There was the messing around a little bit, focused in, but messing around a little bit at times when it came to some of the drills and all of that. But that made me also feel very good, is because, yeah, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't play well together, don't like each other, if you don't get along, if you don't understand each other, what you can and can't do and all of that, then, it doesn't matter how good your talent is, you're not going to be a very good team. So it was good to see that overall too.
Yeah, I thought so. Let's see. John Tyson was there.
He was.
Hunter Yurachek was in and out.
Yep.
Coach Z was there. I include him in the celebrities because he's goated, But,
oh yeah. Yeah.
It was a big event. Pinto was there.
Yeah,
I saw him in there. So, a lot of personality in that gym today, which was cool. Let's see. Oh, a couple housekeeping notes, then we'll get into your chat, guys, and we'll get out of here. And don't worry, there will be plenty more content to come from this. But
yes.
Kareem Rattel out. He was there. He was not dressed out. Dealing with a back injury, John Calipari said. Maybe some other stuff. I don't know. It was interesting because I guess it was Pringle that said didn't know if they'd have him back in time for the season or not. And then Cal was like, oh, he's dealing with a back injury and he's got to run 8 20/20s before he's cleared to practice or something. So I don't know. Anyway, he's out with a back injury right now. No, Paolo Semedo and Elmer Zafik aren't there yet. And no, you don't need to panic about that. I mean, they're two guys that committed 2 weeks ago, and they're both international people. So they've got to do the visa thing and I guess Paolo probably doesn't because he's already been here, but get enrolled and, get separate classes. And there was a deadline to get set up for the summer classes. So whether they arrive here real soon or at the start of the fall semester, they'll be here. Sucks that they're not here yet, but no, they were not here today.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to basically summarize it in from what's going on right now at the current state, what we saw in practice, heard in the press conference, all that. There is nothing any of you Razorback fans should have any sort of panic about or feel bad about or be scared of or anything. Not to say it's going to be perfect, not to say there won't be issues, but where it stands right now, as far as health, as far as eligibility, as far as the team itself, there are no negatives, no causes for concern for me right now.
Yeah, same here. And it was one of the first things Cal mentioned. Was just, it was nice to just have bodies on the floor at practice for a change. It's true. It's something that DJ and Trevin talked about, where it's like, well, how much different is this summer from last summer? And both those guys were like, well, we had more than 4 guys, and we're not practicing against our grad assistants, and it helps us build team chemistry and all these things. It's 100% true. And Arkansas wound up making a Sweet 16 last year, and it's kind of miraculous that they did it, given the way that everything went down there. And it's not just Thero and Boogie being down in the middle of the year, but it was Jonas and his thing the entire offseason and through a majority of the year. It was Nelly and his wrist. Trevin missed a bunch of time in summer practice. Every one of these guys was hurt. DJ arrived hurt with that ankle, and it's just every single guy had something, man. And so knock on all the wood you can. But good grief, it's just nice to see them having some players out there. I was happy to see that for sure.
And I just really hope that this team starts well, starts SEC play well, stays healthy, I was talking to our friend Mayor John Black over there in LaGrange, Kentucky, because he's a Kentucky guy, but Cal lover. We met him in Lexington. But that was one of the things that he texted me today, where he's just like, I just want to see the team have a great regular season and a postseason. I was like, same. I don't know what that's like. It feels like it's been forever. Like, just give us both. Like, yes, postseason's most important, but how about we just enjoy both? Enjoy all the months of basketball season from beginning to end. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this, on the show in the past, but Cal just kind of confirmed exactly what we've been saying. He said you schedule to your team. And so last year it was just whatever, but they had so much newness, but you can tell by the way he's scheduling, and he admitted it, that he likes what he has here. And so he's really challenging them. And we know all the big time marquee games that they have. But he also said that he's looking to fill their bye games, which is just like the teams that you pay money to come down and be sacrificial lambs at Bud Walton Arena. He's trying to fill them with teams like mid-majors that made the NCAA tournament last year. So even the easier games, hypothetically speaking, a little bit tougher than they were in years past. So it's going to be a really tough schedule, and it's a reflection of how he feels about this team and where they're at. So there you go. I'm excited about it.
I am.
He also said, and I want to throw this out there, that he is going to be going out to see a recruit this next week that he's considering bringing in, knowing that he'll be a guy who's here for multiple seasons. So if you thought that portal season or recruiting season or roster building or whatever was done, think again, because he's looking to make another addition here. No, I have no idea who that might be.
I heard him say that, and I had to really think about and say, wait a minute. So it's this year or like next year, or who's available? Who's even out there? I just ask so many more questions than anything. But yeah, just a casual throwing that in, by the way. I'm going to check out somebody real quick. Hey, Johnny T, you got the plane ready? All right, cool. Let's go. I'm out. We'll go see him. My
thought is, I know that they just had a coach out at the U19, the World Cup in Switzerland. And I think it might be one of those guys, like one of those international guys that they saw that they liked, that he might be going out there to check on. That's my guess.
I mean, listen, whoever it is, I am going to overhype him, and I'm going to say that is a great get, even though I have nothing and no idea about him. It's going to be a great addition to the team because I just trust Cal. So
yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's get into the chat, and then we'll get out of here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in with us on a random Wednesday in the middle of July at 5:00. There's a lot of people in here, so it's good stuff. Kingsley, our man, says just getting out of surgery. Remember, he told us that he was going under the knife last week. Says took way longer than expected, but it went really well. Thanks for all your prayers and well wishes, Inside Arkansas family. Glad to hear that you are snapping out of it, my man. Wish you a speedy recovery, and sounds like you're doing decent enough if you typed a coherent sentence into our chat. So we're thinking about you, man. Hope you're hanging in there.
Yep. Glad it went well, man. And hopefully the recovery will be quick and painless and easy going, so you can be back to full strength.
Yeah, no doubt. Heartbroken Hawk says, are we ready to predict a national championship yet?
Yes.
Well, we opened the show predicting a Final Four. So are we underselling this team, John?
I think so. I think we're being too haters, drinking the haterade too much for this team right now. So we may have to up it once we get closer to the season. It's like football. Once you get closer to the season start, you start elevating your expectations. We may jump from a Final Four team to being a national championship team. It could happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's July right now. Cal said he's going to let us come back out in September to see the progress they've made. That will be when I make my my national championship declaration. So
that dude, I'm serious. We are holding him to that. And I was like, I got the clip ready, buddy. Like, you better be a man of your word and allow the media to go and watch that practice. I don't want that casually saying, yeah, we'll do this again. And then it never happens. No, you better be a man of your word.
Yeah. Don't tease us like that, man. And then not deliver. God, could you imagine? I mean, think about what we saw today. And I'm not saying that these guys are going to be like starters or play huge roles necessarily next season, but can you imagine what we saw today plus a 7'2" kid with a 7'6" wingspan and the 7 foot, 265-pound Bosnian kid added to that mix of everybody out there? That's going to be it's a big team, John.
That's
a big team.
Yeah, and I hear that being big is usually a plus when it comes to the game of basketball. So
That's what they say. I mean,
I would be all for it.
it's so funny because we're sitting beside each other in there today, and I was like, man, I'm trying to decide who the actual tallest guy on this team is, because Ewan, Pringle, and Brazil are they're all very, very close. And I looked at all three of them at different times today, and I was like, yeah, he's the tallest. And it's a little bit hard to say. Yeah, the two guys that aren't here yet, both easily taller. So there you have it. Crazy size on the team. Arkansas says Sealy is going to be so good in a couple years, man. He really is. He's going to be better than advertised, better than expected this season. I really do believe that. He's going to play regular minutes for this team this year. I'm not saying he's going to play, 25 or whatever, like some of these other guys are going to be averaging, but it would not surprise me at all if he's playing 10, 12, 15 minutes a game and making an impact for you.
I would say not the type of player, but as far as the trajectory goes, I could see it being like an Adu Thero deal where, he comes in and is a couple, like 2-3 year player, but by year 2, maybe probably 3, he gets into the NBA draft and becomes a draft pick. I could see that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Really talented kid. And you're right. And I mean, a couple years, like sophomore season, Isaiah Sealy, and if you were able to pair that with, junior year Billy Richmond, like who knows? We're getting way ahead of ourselves there, but there's a pathway to some excitement there, no doubt about it, man. No, Sam says, does Billy will wear 45 now? He wears it in practice. A lot of those numbers were screwed up out there in practice today, and I don't know if it's just they didn't have his number, or maybe the jersey got torn because they're just they're getting after it out there. I don't know, but that threw me off a little bit too, seeing Billy in 45.
Well, that just made me laugh because K-Wood was handing out the roster and the numbers, and he was like, yeah, the numbers are all messed up. I'm like, I don't even know why I have this because I'm not going to know who any of these players are with the right. It's like, what are the point of having them if the numbers are all screwy? But no, that I think that they're all keeping their same numbers. It was just because I think Brazil was a weird number too. So I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting deal. I hate that, but it's way easier to deal with basketball. Like, Mike was handing out the roster sheet and everything, which I appreciated, but it's like, okay, there's 12 dudes out here or whatever, and they don't have helmets on and we're right beside them. I know who they all are.
Yeah,
and what's brutal is when you go to a football practice and you get the roster, it's got 135 guys on it and the numbers are different. They're in helmets, so you can't see their faces. And you're like, I don't know who that is. So
yeah, true.
I'll take this. I just want to bring this up real quick. We talked about it. Colby says, is Rattel hurt? Thought I saw him sitting down. Didn't see him in any clips. Cal said he's dealing with a back thing. He was there at practice. He just wasn't dressed out. But I will say Cal was asked about him a couple times, and he said that he views Rattel as a 3, as a wing. It's one of the things on the pod at the Palace where I was talking about different things I was looking for today. Would Rattel be working more with the wings? Would he be working more with the big men? Like, what does that look like? It sounds like they see him as a 3. And he said, could he play the 4? Maybe, but he's not really physical enough to do that at this stage. So that's kind of what we're looking at with Rattel as a wing. And he's gone from 6'9", 230 or whatever the hell it was when he committed to now he's listed at 6'7", 205 or something. So, and that's a more accurate reflection of where he's at there. So more of a wing. And I think maybe it was Pringle that said he's been a guy who shot it well in practice or whatever. So there you have it. We'll see when they get him back, but I wanted to make sure that I added that because they did talk about him a little bit more. Heartbroken Hog says, we have a squad of men this season. No boys out there to speak of. Did you get that vibe? Did you see a bunch of boy out there? I didn't.
I saw freshman like Malik Thomas, especially. I think I said this when he committed. And I mean this in a complimentary way because I said this about Jalen Barford. He looks like he's killed a man. Like, just like he looks mean and like, a good kid, not saying it's bad. It's just, he doesn't look like an 18-year-old that's scared of life and scared of what's the future hold. And he's just more worried about playing video games. No, it looks like he's a kid that he's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to beat you and I'm going to get to where I want to get mine and I'm going to make it to the league and I'm going to do whatever it takes. So no, I don't see any kids out there.
He had that interview recently after one of his overtime elite games, or maybe it was one of the McDonald's practices or something. Anyway, it was after he dunked on somebody. It might have been Carmelo Anthony's kid, actually, in one of those showcase games. But somebody asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, I had malicious intent." As soon as I touched the ball, I had malicious intent. Yeah, okay, you're a killer. Got it. We understand. And I will say, and while we're on the topic, I'll pull this up from Tamara. She says, I watched Leak in a practice at Overtime Elite. He worked so freaking hard and was puking his guts out, but he kept going. He won the Hustle Award today. Maybe he's just a big sweater, but that dude's his jersey and his undershirt was a different shade of red than everybody else's, and it was a little bit darker. He sweat out there today. That boy was getting the work in, no doubt about it.
Well, and that's why I feel like he's going to take over games, man. And he has the mentality, because it's one thing to be talented. And it's another thing to just be the hardest worker. But when you're both, sheesh, man, they're just, again, no stopping you. There's no ceiling to what you could do.
Yep. We got a few from Sharkensaw. He says a couple things. Cal's ability to read the room and knowing he needs to let the fans get a taste of Kool-Aid is second to none. I agree. I absolutely agree with this. And maybe it went down exactly like he said in terms of why we got to get, let in there today or whatever, but it was very, very well timed. It was pretty funny because he said that he asked the communications guy, well, how many people are going to be here? The practice facility is only so big. They told him 25, and he's like, what the hell? We don't have 25 media members here. You did today, buddy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody sent the house because they were needing it. I love the fact that he did that too. And he did it in a way of like, instead of just having a bunch of little ones here and there, let's just do one long, big 2-hour session and then call it good. So that way they can't complain or they can't whine or anything till the basketball season, or at least SEC basketball media day starts. We give them that for 2 hours of our time and then we're done. And then we'll go back to being a recluse and not showing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We can't complain at all now.
Yeah.
I can't bitch about anything for at least 3 months. So I have to shut up now. It's okay. It's all right. Lane Hedge says Ewan going to lead the team in 3-point percentage. Yeah, he might lead him in 3-point percentage. He might go, 12 for 25 or something this year and lead him in 3-point percentage. Listen, like I said, I don't think he's gonna, be shooting and knocking down threes like Big Z was or whatever last year. It's not that, but Trellin, and they drop it back off to him and knocking down a trail three, or the occasional pick and pop just to keep him honest and knocking those down. I would absolutely give him the green light to do that. If I understand correctly, or if I recall correctly, he's never attempted a three in college.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pulling up his stats right now. I don't think he has. Now, maybe he did it as JUCO or whatever, but last season at Florida State, he had one attempt last year, and he did not shoot one in his first year at Ole Miss. So it's not like he's been doing a lot of this. So to see him knocking them down today the way he was, I'm like, bro, why haven't you been shooting these?
Well, don't give us an expense. Did he make the one that he shot?
No, he didn't. He did not, unfortunately, but he's going to make some threes for this team this year. I feel confident in that after seeing him. Let's see. OKC Hog's been tapped into the videos and the highlights. He says Brazil and Sealy impressed him the most. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Brazil would definitely be my number one in terms of most impressive. And then, Sealy's up there. I think you could make an argument for Malik Thomas. Now, unless you were there, you probably wouldn't say that, because it was honestly the last 45 minutes or so after we couldn't film anymore where I thought Leak was really shining. Malik Ewan could be up there as well, but I don't think he had as many moments. Sealy looked good.
Yeah, he did.
Really did. Vids for me says senior year TB is going to feed families. Well, as long as he feeds his own, John Calipari's done his job.
That's right. That's right. And it is a senior year. I guess it's his red shirt senior year. So make sure we get that right.
Yeah. Eric Musselman's ghost thinks that Nick Pringle is going to be our X factor.
I mean, I'm not saying no, but at the same time, it goes back to, man, you could have 3 or 4 guys that could be the X factor on this team. I mean, it's who you're getting with the retention stuff, but I mean, Carter Knox, I felt like was a big X factor last year, and he's could be the X factor again this year. Brazil could be. Malik Thomas could be. So I'm not saying this is a bad take. I'm just saying it's nice to where you have options that could be X factors.
Yeah, and I agree with that. What I will say about Nick Pringle is he really does represent probably the most frustrating thing that you didn't have last year, which was a big physical dude in there that was not going to allow a bunch of offensive rebounds. and he's definitely not going to do that. So
yeah, hey, listen, when he's on the court, I guarantee you that play against Texas Tech in the tournament last year where they got like 18 offensive rebounds in a row ain't happening this year.
Yeah. Yep. Heartbroken Hog, we appreciate the super chat. He says, I'm going to ball next year at the watch party when TB goes first round. Also, I know it's too early, but after what y'all saw today, how are we feeling about a Final Four? It would be awesome if TB wound up getting drafted in the first round. I hope he just works his way back into getting drafted, period. Would be really cool. Like, his age is going to be working against him. His injury history is going to be working against him. But if he plays a full season like he did the end of last year and in the manner that he looked today, he's definitely a draft pick. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When you're 6'10 plus and long and athletic and can knock down threes, and now you're starting to do some other things in terms of putting it on the deck and defending, like, yeah, that's a pro. So if he does it for the course of a season consistently, he'll definitely be a guy who gets drafted. How are we feeling about a Final Four? I don't know, man.
Well,
yeah, sure.
I'll say this when it comes to that. Having fun, you want to be confident and everything. Yeah. But I look at it as this, where it stands right now. If you told me right now, hey, Arkansas makes the Final Four this year, I'm not going to be shocked and saying, oh my gosh, how'd that happen? Like, it won't be a surprising thing. Not saying they will, but I'm not going to be surprised if they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you put it well there. What he said, we're going to go with that. I like it. Hickory Hog, he's talking about Leak and Carter being matched up. He said TB's just making Carter better. If he can shoot over TB, nobody's blocking his shot. And this is accurate. And I was kind of surprised that he didn't take any I don't think he took any step back threes against Trevin, creating space wise. I was surprised that Trevin was pressuring him out well beyond the 3-point line the way he was, and Carter wasn't just blowing by him more. Yeah. Not that he couldn't have done that if he wanted to, but the other part of that is sometimes he would go off the bounce, and you got to remember, Trevin is he's one of the most athletic guys in the country, and he's got a 7-foot+ wingspan. You can beat him off the dribble, and it doesn't matter because he can recover and block your shot anyway. He didn't necessarily do that to Carter today, but you're right. It's a unique matchup for a guy like Carter, who's used to being defended by other wings in the SEC, guys who are his size, or even guards who might be a little bit smaller than him. You got a guy who's 5-6 inches taller and can do the things that Trevin does. It's going to make you a hell of a lot better if you do have to play the foursome this season in the SEC.
There's not going to be many teams that Arkansas faces this year to where like stacked up 1v1, 5-on-5, whatever, to where you are just going to be, the other team is going to have 5 guys that are better than your 5 and be able to outmatch you in every way. There's not going to be that many cases when that happens this year.
Yep. Let's see, just a handful more here. I'll pull this up from Hayden. He says, was there anyone that, if you were honest, kind of disappointed you today? Or are we looking pretty solid all around? I don't know if disappointment is the right word, but I mean, I was expecting to see more from Darius Acuff than I did today. And there's a pretty easy explanation for why. He just wasn't as aggressive as I expected him to be. And he got a little banged up as soon as we walked in there. And I think that had a lot to do with it. He definitely looks the part, strong. He's jacked. I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday said that he has those buff stepdaddy arms. And he does, man. He's a big kid. Like, he looks more physically put together than DJ Wagner even. And DJ is a big guard. So I thought he looked good from that standpoint. We talked about his passing ability and his ability to read. I just expected to get a little bit more pop from him and some more whoa moments out of him. But I just don't think that was in the cards today with what he was dealing with. So if I had to answer the question, that's probably who I would go with, but maybe more, I expected more than I was disappointed, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed in anybody. So, if there was something, I would say Carter Knox, just because of like the expectation that he has.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not that he played bad or that I saw a bunch of plays he made that made him look bad. It wasn't that. It's just when the last time we saw him, he was going for 20 in the NCAA tournament and was just taking over a game. And you see him in this practice that he didn't really have anything that stood out amongst everybody else. Again, not disappointing, just more like, oh, okay, I guess I expected a little bit more, but that's fine. Like, I'd rather him be that than making mistakes and throwing the ball away and all that stuff. So,
yeah, no, for sure. This is an interesting one from Hustle Hog 479. He's talking about the current freshmen. He says, can you compare them to Muss's big freshmen? Talking about the highly recruited ones, I assume. I was thinking about Malik Thomas when I was watching there. I was like, who does he remind me of? And Cal said it himself. Leak is different. Like his game's just a little bit unorthodox. But when I look at his build, and I think he's a little bit taller, but maybe equally as long. He kind of gave me some Nick Smith vibes. Malik Thomas did. Shoulders are a little bit broader than I expected for a guy that doesn't have a whole bunch of weight on him. The length kind of surprised me, and some of his mannerisms off the bounce, like sometimes he'll get real high with it and then tight, just like bouncing it through the court at times with his crossover. There's just a few things that he did, not an overall game, but where I was like, wow, he kind of is giving me some NSJ vibes there.
Yeah, that's a good way, because when you were talking about the player, I was thinking Nick Smith in that, but yeah, I mean, you're not seeing an Anthony Black type of player out there on this team. You know, like,
No.
you're not seeing that. You're not seeing a Jordan Walsh really of that type. But that goes to show you again how with basketball, there's different players that are really good and can do different things. And so, will the upside be better than those guys? Maybe. Will it be or more consistent in the early going? Maybe. But yeah, it's tough. But these two guys, I think, fit what this team's trying to do very well. Like they fit a role very well.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on there. Appreciate the super chat from you, Sharkensaw. He says, how likely is it that we're going to get a Lob City Cal type team after what you saw today? I think they'll have a lot of lobs. I mean, Ewan and Pringle just in pick and rolls alone, you're going to get a lot of that. Trevin, we all know about him. I think between the three of those guys, you're going to get a lot of tip dunks. But Billy Richmond, he dunked on Trevin today.
Yeah.
In practice in there. And he's a guy that can really take flight. So he'll have plenty of those. This could be a pretty good dunking team, actually. I don't know if you're going to have anybody like Thero, who was top 10 in the country or something in total dunks, actually top 5 before he got hurt, but they'll be throwing down quite a bit of them. I think you're going to get a lot of them from your big men.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get something like the Ricky Council days of just Showtime dunks and things like that. But as far as dunking in transition, the being able to storm down the lane, maybe even some posters. I could see that absolutely happening with some of the guys here. But it's more of the aggressive, strong dunks, more than the flashy, sexy dunks. The dunk is a dunk because it still counts for the same amount of points at the end of the day.
Exactly. It still gets you excited. That's that's all that matters here. Hog Milanese. It's a big one there. We appreciate you for that super chat, and glad we could help out here. He says practice footage from today might get me through football season. It might. Well, if this doesn't, and go into football with an open mind. And if it's not going the way you hope it is by the end of September, when we get to go back to basketball practice, we can do this all over again, and that will get you through. This can get you to football season. I think that's the way I choose to look at it. So
yeah. If football goes way by the wayside quickly, just get till mid October, where you'll start late October. You start having some actual games, some exhibitions. Just get till then before you start, losing all of your insight on everything. Just wait. Yes.
And then the final one, and we'll wrap up on this, the most important one. Transplanted Texan says, we all want to know, how was our guy, Mr. Hog of Hype, Amir? Just everything I hoped he would be.
Yep.
Electric. I love this kid, man. I really do, honestly. Now he was dialed in at practice. He couldn't coordinate the vibes as much as he wanted to, because he would probably get in trouble by Coach Cal and the staff or whatever. But Amir Brown, he was there, and he was participating in practice, and he's got some aura about him. It strikes you in person just like it does on TikTok. And I wish that we were there a little bit earlier before they started practice, because maybe they were recording some new dances or whatever. Wish we were there afterwards. I did appreciate him dapping me up. He was the best of the bunch from that standpoint, aside from Trevin, because obviously we go way back with Trevin, so that hit a little bit different. But yeah, man, it was great to see our man Amir Brown out there. He's a man of the people, and it's not easy shoes to fill from Cash Chavis, who did such a great job with this team last season, but a commendable start for him, and I think he's well on his way to upgrading Arkansas's coordinator of vibes status moving into the next season.
As long as Arkansas keeps winning and that's more accepted, they're going to get a lot more hype and a lot more fun and a lot more energy from them. So yeah, just keep on winning and have a great season. And I think we'll see plenty of that energy and excitement and hype around him.
Oh, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, John, that you haven't said? Any final thoughts as you like to ask Andrew and I inside Arkansas Live every day?
Man, I don't think so. I mean, I think we covered it pretty much. Just once again, thank you to John Calipari and the basketball program for doing this. I thought that we talk about dog days of summer. Football media days is next week, and we'll have fall camp and all of that. But to be able to have this, it just carries so much. And I'm bringing it up with you again. It's like you got content now where you can not pot at the palace. You're not having to pull things out of your rear end. It's like you actually have stuff you saw and stuff you could have. And so I appreciate it. I think it's great. Hopefully they keep doing this like every year. And just glad that they thought about us little people out here and being able to have a practice and all that stuff. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, felt good, man. It's absolutely love that. Really appreciate them for doing it and letting us come out there. It was very cool to see. I see one more super chat that snuck in here. I want to get to that. Unbiased Brim, appreciate you, buddy. He said, will on-ball defense be our weakest part of the team? No, I actually don't think it will be at all. We'll see. I want to see more from Acuff from that standpoint. Kind of liked what I saw from Malik Thomas. Again, we were there for an hour, but DJ is good for it. Carter came a long way. Billy's a tenacious on-ball defender. My question would be at the 4 spot, but then after what Trevin did against Carter today, I feel a little bit better about that situation. Nick Pringle as a guy who can move his feet defensively at the center spot. I think they're going to be okay there. In fact, what Cal was saying was the reason their defense was so good last year was because of the way they could defend the ball, which he feels decent about this season, but also because of their shot blocking. And he said that's an area he wanted to see more from his bigs, because Trevin's going to block some shots. Billy is a good shot blocker on the wing, but they want more from Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle, which I pointed out when they took those two, and everybody was calling me a hater. But are you going to say Cal's a hater for pointing it out too? Yes, there's more that goes to defense than just that. But if you have those shot blocking presence in there, it definitely helps. So I think you're going to be okay from that standpoint. But anyway, appreciate everybody seriously for hopping on, joining us, talking basketball in the middle of July. I know everybody's been itching for this, and it was really exciting. And we're going to keep this thing rolling with the pod at the Palace every morning at 6 a.m., including tomorrow morning. So I still got something else I got to record here tonight. But we got a lot more that we're going to talk about that from that standpoint. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel just yet, the Inside Arkansas, do it. You're here, you're watching right now. All you got to do is click a button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out. So we would certainly appreciate it. And you can find all of our shows wherever you find your podcast in audio form, Apple, Spotify, anywhere, you name it, and we're there. But we're going to get out of here for now. So for John Neighbors, Curtis Wilkerson, Inside Arkansas on the Pod at the Palace, you guys have a good day, and we will see you next time.